make a list of, what are all your assets? What are all the things that if you put them on the website would encourage your customers to trust you more, prospective customers to trust you more, and to buy from you.
This is the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast for entrepreneurs and business owners looking for cool online tools, apps and strategies to make business easy online. My name is Nik Cree and I'm your host. Each episode features a guest expert demystifying the online universe, sharing inspirational ideas and providing tested real-world strategies to help you get the most of what's available online to grow your business today. Don't be a slave to your business. Get your business working for you. Subscribe now and get some great content and ideas for you and your business today. All right, so now we're going to move into really one of my favorite sessions of the night, because this is where I get to kick back and learn a bit as well too. So I'd like to introduce you to Scott Bywater, who's waiting in the wings there. He is a marketing strategist, a copywriter, and he's been working behind the scenes with some of Australia's leading companies for about 16 years. So some of them you will have heard of, companies like Knowledge Source, Jim's Mowing, Ray White, Body Trim, Lang & Simmons, and there's a whole heap of them. And he covers about 124 different industries. So some of his highlights of his career are he's developed an email product launch. Listen to this, a product launch that's generated over $470,000 in revenue in 7 days. So who'd like a launch like that there? He's also helped a leading Australian brand, so this would be a well-known brand that you'll know as well, go from zero to $30 million in sales on his work. And he's also the man behind the creative that put thousands of people into events right across the country and has generated tens of millions of dollars in sales. So today, Scott Bywater is here, and he's here to show you how to turn random visitors on your website into leads and clients. So let's put our hands together and welcome Scott Bywater.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate the warm introduction, and I got some really good tips from the technology tips to explore tomorrow. So what I'm going to be covering today is really looking at how to structure your website to get the best conversion rate when people visit. And this is really important because whether you're advertising on Google AdWords, whether you're advertising on Facebook, whether you're advertising on SEO, you're going to spend the same amount for those ads, whether it converts or whether it fails to convert. It'll be exactly the same cost, the overall cost, regardless. So that's why it's really wise to pay attention to the copy. And we're going to be talking about really the two big problems that you're going to be facing. Because problem number one is, which pages do you need, right? And I'm sure, being in the web design business, Nick, this, it's like this whole thing of brainstorming. What pages do I need to actually get the best conversion, and how do I structure all of that? And problem number two is, how much content do I actually put on each page? And I'm going to be sharing some real examples today. And I also encourage you, if you've got questions, to drop them into the feed, and I'll answer them as I go through everything today. So and here's the thing: there's the easy way and the hard way with with getting your copy right for the website. The hard way is similar. Think of it like if you're building a house, right? If you build a house and you don't go to an architect first, the whole thing is like an absolute mess. Do you know what I mean? Like the builder just comes in, starts laying bricks, and it's just chaos. So that's the hard way. The easy way is really getting clear on the structure and the strategy first, so that you can get the best result and turn those visitors into clients. And that comes down to having a really solid wireframe or design in place. And that's what I want you to walk away with today, is a really solid structure of what is my wireframe? What is my design? And even if you've currently got a website, how can you restructure it? What pages can you add? What can you add to your homepage? That sort of thing to get a better result from the visitors who are currently coming to your website. And to do this, a hand-drawn mock-up is really powerful as a starting point. So what I would encourage everyone to do is just grab a pen and paper if you don't have one already, and just, get ready to like brainstorm as you're going through this process. So it doesn't have to be all done professionally. Just back of a napkin sort of style is absolutely fine for this process. So I'm going to talk primarily about coaching, consulting, service businesses, because that's who I'm guessing just from what I've heard so far, who's in the room today. But these strategies will apply across the board. But let's look at this from a coaching, consulting, and service business perspective. Okay, so the non-negotiables are your About Us page, your home page, your programs or your coaching or services page, and your Contact Us page. So they're like the four pillars, if you like, the four pillars of a chair. They're the ones that really need to be in any website and need to be in place in any website. The negotiables, you got your book. If you've got a book, add that in there. Podcast, if you've got success stories and testimonials and that sort of thing. If you've got a blog, resources. If you've got a shop, if you're in, you might sell some, T-shirts, or even if you're a retail shop, obviously you need to have, a shop area, tools, meet the team, and the Facebook group. So these don't need to be in place for everyone, but they are things that, that you might like to include and incorporate into your wireframe. Okay, so my questions to you is, what assets do you have at present? What assets do you have? And just take a moment, just a minute or so right now. I'll stop talking and just write down what assets you have that you can incorporate into your website. So assets can be, you've got testimonials and they're sitting on a hard drive somewhere. You got them ages ago. They're not on your website. Maybe you've got a podcast. You haven't integrated that on your website. Maybe you've got a special report and you haven't put that and a download link to that on your website. Perhaps you've got case studies and they're not on your website. So really make a list of, what are all your assets? What are all the things that if you put them on the website would encourage your customers to trust you more, prospective customers to trust you more, and to buy from you. Does anyone want to put their hand up and sort of say what assets they actually have? Or drop it into the notes. We've got Jeff saying ebooks give value. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll be giving some real-time examples of that shortly. An email list is a must for leads. Absolutely agree. Sonia said blog. Yep, perfect. Yes, adding the blog in there so people can see what you're about. Mandy's put client testimonials. Excellent. Very important from a proof element. We'll be showing some examples of that shortly. Nik, video of speaking. Yep, excellent. So got a fiction novel. I can't remember whether I do the two. Selena's just asking about her novel. I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that one at the end. Case studies, reviews. Nik said yes, absolutely. I'm sure Scott Baker would agree with that one. So we've got that's excellent. So let's take a look. Okay, so first we've got the homepage. Now, the way to look at the homepage is like a spider web, right? Like generally the homepage is not where you send your Google traffic to. If you're advertising on Google AdWords, let's say you're a coach and you're advertising for, I don't know, like we had here, energy alchemy coaching as an example, which we heard before, or energy coaching. You would send that to a specific page. You generally wouldn't send it to your homepage. Like a plumber is going to send someone different if they're looking for someone to fix a leaky tap versus if they want someone to fix their toilet, right? Because the specificity is key. So the aim of the homepage is a little bit like a spider web where you're capturing everything and you're sending it in a certain direction. The other way to look at a homepage is almost like, when you walk into Bunnings, for example, and you go in and you talk to the person out front, they've got someone out front, and you go, I'm looking for a spade. And she'll go to aisle 23. Or you'll say, I'm looking for a bucket. And they'll go to aisle 45 or some lights. And I'll say, go to aisle 63 or whatever that is. They'll send you to a very specific place. That's the job of the homepage. So let's look at how this all incorporates in here nicely. Okay, so the way you want to be thinking about this is in blocks, right? So thinking in blocks. So you think of blocks of copy, whether it's on your homepage or any page, is how am I going to break this out in blocks of copy? And they're nice. That way it's nice and easy to add to your page and give structure to your web designer and to your writer, so they know exactly what you're actually looking for and what the framework is with each part. So like we talked about the architecture before, these blocks are really powerful for that. And the most important block of all is this one, the one which, is like the checkmate block, if you like, is what is above the fold. So above the fold of your homepage is a really, really critical piece of real estate. If we're looking at real estate, above the fold is like the $1 million piece of real estate, if you like, which you really need to get spot on. So let's look at some examples of above the fold. So this is James Schramko, incredible marketer. I'm sure many of you have heard of James. So if you look at what James has done here, it's really, really effective and can be modeled for many businesses. So he's got the headline. Let me go in a bit deeper than this and then get to the core message here, because there's a couple of lessons here. But you've looked here, grow your business super fast without working nights and weekends. Okay. That's a very, very, very effective headline, because what it's doing is it's offering a very clear benefit without the objection. So what I'd encourage you to do, and I'm not saying this is definitely the above the fold headline for you, but just think about how you could use that headline for your business, and maybe just drop it in the comments so we can all learn from each other. So for example, let's say we had the example of the DJ, right? So it might be, have an amazing night without the hassle of taking care of everything yourself. That sort of thing. So you want to look at what is that biggest pain point for your potential customer. Maybe just drop that in the chat, the biggest pain point, the thing that your customers just absolutely hate. Like in this case, it's without working nights and weekends. It may be different for you. Then what he's got there is credibility, right? This is who I am. This is what I've done. This is how many businesses I've helped. Half of them earn over $3 million a year, and 30% earn at least in his community, earn at least 6 figures. So it's really strong. It leads with credibility. So it's very, very powerful from that perspective. And then this line is really powerful. There are 4 ways I can help you earn more while working less. Which would you like help with? Okay, so who here has more than one service or more than one way that they can help their clients? Most people, right? So So make a list of what those ways are and look at how you can, remember I said earlier, you're like the person at the front of Bunnings and you're directing traffic. So that page you're saying, I'm credible, I'm unique, here's how I can help you, here's how I can take your pain away, and here's where you should go specifically for my help. So, so Jeff's got caterer, all the food you can eat or you don't pay. The other thing with catering, Jeff, is yours could, let's say finger food, catering, for restaurants, catering for parties, catering, so you can go into those specialties. And Jeff, if you ever talk to him, he's very good at, because Jeff and I have known each other for a while, very good at like niching into specific markets. So this is a way that you can do that on the homepage. And Jeff said he's done that with 100 sites. So he's sort of like a master at niching, if you like. So then we've got get content. Okay, Mandy said get content that converts without spending hours trying to find the right words. Yeah, I like it. Because people are, that they're confused about how to do it, how to pull it all together, all of that sort of thing. So I think that's quite effective. Then we've got Jane said, I have 4 words and 4 images that are inspired by how you feel when they do some painting or drawing. Not sure if it's effective though, quite new. I was talking to someone about painting recently, and let's say, I'm not sure exactly what you do, Jane, but they were like teaching art. And I said, come from a different lens. You're teaching art. So people who are learning art, they're not just doing it to learn art. They're doing it for mental health. They're doing it for, for maybe emotional renewal. Maybe it's for their kids so that they can feel better at themselves or teenagers. There may be many different elements to that. So at the end of that, you could have, why do you want to learn art? And if you know 4 reasons, they can click on them. Now, how do you find out what these 4 reasons are, right? Is a good question, yeah? So one of the best ways that I've found is, and if you send me an email to this afterwards, I can send this to you, but it's a survey that you can send out to your tribe. Right. And if you send this survey out and you ask them about the frustrations, and there's 6 or 7 questions that you can ask them, right? What questions they have for you, that sort of thing. You'll be able to identify down to a science what these 4 boxes should say. Do you know what I mean? You'll be able to identify down to a science what these 4 boxes should say, not by guessing, but by knowing. Because one of the things that Robert Collier said, and he was one of the greatest copywriters, on the planet, in his time, and he said the whole secret is to enter the conversation going on in your customer's mind. So the secret to success is to enter the conversation going on in your customer's mind, and that's probably a writer downer, because if you do that and you hit them between the eyeballs with your headline, then you establish credibility. And then you send them in a specific direction. It's very, very powerful. But this isn't the only way you can open, right? It's one way, like getting to Ayers Rock. You can fly, you can drive, you can walk, you can take a helicopter. There's lots of ways you can get there. It's not the only way. So let's look at some others. Okay, here's another one. So Chris Ducker, well-known entrepreneur. What he's got, which is what Jeff Veal was alluding to earlier, was the whole concept of the free ebook. Right, so it just goes straight for the ebook. This is what I do. Grab my personal branding roadmap, bang, download the free ebook. Very powerful if you're looking to build your list. Right, it goes straight down there. People download it. Boom, you've got that. That next step sort of happening. So Ron's just said, frustrated with your pet's anxiety behavior, not sure how to solve it. Here's a proven breakthrough to calming your pet with anxiety. Yeah, so if that's a big issue, that's very powerful. Do you know what I mean? Like that's very powerful if you're hitting that lens. And that, people underestimate this, right? Because copy, one of the things that Gary Benzavenga said, and he retired recently, but he was the world's greatest copywriter. And he used to spend 40% of his time on research, 40% of his time on writing, and 20% of his time on editing. So the research, I can be the most amazing writer in the world, right? But if I write about knee pain and my customers have back pain, it's not going to work. Do you know what I mean? You can be an average writer and get a better response because you've taken the time to do the research and understand your customer at a really, really deep level. This is where surveys happen. This is where going onto Amazon and typing in pet anxiety and looking at the books that are on pet anxiety and then looking at the reviews that are on pet anxiety is really, really powerful, because you go in there and you get the language, you get to understand what's going on in your target market's mind. And that is absolutely number one, is understanding deeply what happens inside your target market's mind. You know, what keeps them up at night? You know, what keeps them up at night? What makes them angry? What makes them frustrated? What makes them happy? You know, all of that sort of thing. You understand that, and they become very easy to, very easy to sell to, because it's all about the value, right? You know, you can buy a bunch of flowers that cost $30 for your wife and make her much happier than if you buy her a lawnmower, right? Because value is in the eyes of the beholder. So it's really important to understand your target market. Here's another one, Belinda Smith, lovely lady. And this is what she has, is she again has gone straight to the free checklist. The renovation and real estate hub, learn to renovate in style like a DIY pro, create an exciting and rewarding renovation business, or simply leave your renovation projects to the experts. And then it's like download your free checklist. I'd probably add, because Belinda's got a lot of credibility, I'd probably add some really strong credibility and incorporate that in that first section as well. But this is a really good example of going for the checklist. And you'll see she's also got this. This is another way to add credibility, which Belinda has done here, is renovation consultant, speaker, business coach, property investor. So that's quite powerful as well, to put it under your face, because people will often look there. So that's good. And here's another one. This is with a video, right? So we help women like you prepare for a thriving marriage by healing your relationship with yourself first. Very, very powerful type opening. And that goes straight to a video. So then you connect with the video. And if you've got some really good videos, that's really good, because it's like, oh, how are you going to do that? Bang, the natural thing from there is to click onto the video. And here's another one from my friend and partner, Alexi. So one of the things that Alexi's got is he's got get leads with content hacking. So up to 231 ways to get leads and clients every month. And, and it's going straight for the let's chat. Can we help you? Click the button below and let's chat. During our chat, we may also answer questions such as, and then bang, bang, bang. So that's really good. If you want to get appointments like straight up, that's a really good way to open for your business, to go in there and really open in a really strong way in that way. So anyone want to comment about what they're thinking of for their particular above the fold, or what their strategy is based on this so far for above the fold?
Yeah, if I can have a quick word, Scott.
Yep.
My main frustration is when I'm doing my website, it has to cater to a mobile phone as well as a desktop.
Yep.
And that can change the layout of that above the fold.
Yes. Yep. Yep. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So I would say, and I'd be interested in Nik's take on this as well, but I would say to make it, you want to make sure it appeals to mobile, because most people these days are searching on mobile. So if it doesn't approach on mobile, I think you'll lose a lot of that particular customer base. So Yeah, what Jeff's just put 60% plus are on mobile.
Yeah,
I think
for my business usually comes up as a on desktop when I'm looking at, say, my emails that people have opened, and I can't think whether the website is predominantly. I think the website is predominantly desktop as well, but not by a huge amount. It's probably 60-40 the other way for me. So it's more desktop, but because I'm the creator of my website, I haven't been able to get someone to do that for me yet. It's always just painful to have to look at tablets and then phones and then desktop and make sure that it appeals. Like the layout in general, it has to appeal to all three layouts.
Yes. Nik, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can just jump in. There's a couple of things there. Is that with some modern website builders these days, you can change the layout depending on whether it's being viewed on desktop or mobile or tablet. So, and I know WordPress, I know yours is not, Jane, your Shopify, but they may have something like that as well too. But you can change things so you get your core message still there on both platforms, but you may change sort of some of the imagery or some of the ways of displaying it, the size of it, particularly size of font and all that sort of thing there. But you can get the essential message through, and you just have to work out, because mobile's smaller, you just have to work out what's your key core message that needs to be top and center on mobile, and what can you sort of just drop below the fold, which is often below what it is on a desktop. But the differences between desktop and mobile too is that on mobile, people are used to having their thumb there ready to scroll. So you need to work out what's at the top of the fold to start with, and then what's just immediately below it. And one little trick is that you have something like an image or a video which is cut off. So when they're viewing on the mobile, they actually have to scroll to see the next part. So you make it compelling so that they do scroll. And you can use it with things like arrows or whatever, but certainly having things that people know that they've got to scroll down. So, but you can have different layouts for both, desktop and mobile. Is that helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. And it also I found that your Facebook banner also has to be very similar to your website, where it sort of says what you want to say as well.
Yeah, no, that's I think so. I think that's good. Anyone else got any thoughts on how they're going to structure their homepage opening, or any questions? Nope, that's good. So let's continue on then. So we've got the next thing we talked about building in blocks earlier, and this is really important for when you're structuring and working with your designer in terms of how to structure your page. So if you think in blocks, right, I'm going to add this block, and I'm going to add that block, and I'm going to add this block. So let's have a look at some potential homepage blocks, if we like. Okay, so the big thing is having proof on the homepage. Now, this is really, really important. Back to what Gary Benzavinja said again, he called it the 4 Ps, and it was promise. And we saw that with James's opening, right? So, getting clients super fast without, working weekends. Then you've got proof, problem, and proposition. Proposition basically means offer, right? So we've got promise, proof, problem, and proposition. And that's what you want to have on your website. Proof is very, very important, because one of the big things that people say these days, like everyone's skeptical, right? There's so many offers, there's so much coming at them. You go down your Facebook feed, you're seeing like 32 ads. You're getting like texts from, I don't know if you guys do, but I keep getting texts from DHL and this person saying something's arrived like 6 times a day. So people are naturally skeptical. So when you make a claim, the big thing that people usually say is, yeah, sure. You know what I mean? Yeah, right. Yeah, sure. Yeah, that sort of thing. So you need those proof elements. That's why the proof elements are so important. We saw it with James's opening, but you need to expand on that. So here's what you see, and you can go to James's page and check it out. But further down the page on the homepage, the super fast business, what you've got is, here's what high-performing entrepreneurs say about James and super fast business. And then he's got all his proof credentials. He's got testimonials from all these people with incredible results. And notice one thing about these sort of things, they're very specific. They're not like James is a great guy. These are the sort of results that his clients want. So it's from $4,000 a month to up to $7,000 plus a month in 6 months. Within 3 months, I created an additional $10,071 a month in income. Very, very specific. So if you're looking to get, one of the things I would encourage you to get is go out there and get case studies, from your clients. A simple way to do it, one of the easiest ways to do it is like Zoom calls like this. You're on a call, at the end of the call, you go, you know what? Do you mind just taking a few minutes and doing a quick case study? But obviously, once you've got them some results about what you've got, yep, great. You hit the record button and you start asking questions. And some questions to start with is like, where were you when before you started working with me? What happened? Where are you now? So it's like the hero's journey, right? If you look at Star Wars or anything, the hero's down. He goes through a journey, and then he wins, and he has a win. And this is really what we're looking for. And the reason movies are written like this and in this way is because this is essentially who we connect with it, right? Because we all live that as part of our life. We're all going through our own individual hero's journey. So these are like mini hero's journeys in the case studies. And if you ask these for your clients, and then what you can do is you can use a tool like, if anyone's not using otter.ai, Nik might have already mentioned it, one of his tools. It's a very, very powerful tool to use for copy. So particularly if you're very structured in the way that you ask your questions, because then you can, you can get the raw materials for your copy by asking a very simple question and going, okay, so what benefits do you offer for your clients, et cetera, et cetera. But you can also do it with case studies very powerfully like this. You can then take the video recording, put it through this, and then you can have video, but you can also tidy up the otter.ai transcription for that. Now, to give you an idea, everyone's probably heard of Rev. Like Rev, you're going to pay $1 a minute. Literally, otter.ai, for most businesses, you can do it unlimited recordings. It's like an AI technology for like $100 US a year or something. Like it's don't quote me on that price, but it's like very, very cost efficient for most businesses. So, and it won't stop you from just transcribing everything. Whereas Rev, if you're going to do 1,000 hours a month, you're probably going to think about, how much you're going to get transcribed. So here's another example of a proof element. I consider Chris Ducker to be one of the top experts when it comes to virtual business management. And then it's like from a best-selling author, right? So if you've got people who are credible, who are famous in your niche for whatever reason, they don't have to be like Hollywood famous, but let's say you're a marketer for restaurants in Sydney and you've got a really well-known Sydney restaurant as a client, you want to use that as a feature testimonial, right? So, and there's another strategy where you can make clients like that a really good offer just to get them on board as a testimonial, because if there's anything, we've seen recently is that social proof is incredibly powerful. Social proof is incredibly powerful, and very often it's far more powerful than logic. So if we go to here, we're seeing here more social proof. So this again is from some of our writers actually have written for Forbes, Time, Reader's Digest, National Geographic. So you see that, and because they're like big name brands, there's a lot of trust which is then leveraged as a result of that. So if you've worked with big name brands, or you've got people who've worked within your team who've worked with big name brands, this can be very, very powerful to incorporate into your, into your web copy. And here's another one, John Gian from Knowledge Source. And this is a testimonial for Fulby, which is we're a subsidiary of Fulby. And my company is one of the top 100 biggest advertisers on Facebook. We spend upwards of $1 million a month. Alexi and the Fulby's team viewpoint on content strategy, copywriting funnels are the most valued of any I consider. So you can see, very powerful when it comes from someone who's respected in a particular niche, and it lends instant credibility and overcomes that yeah, sure response. So the question you should have in your head when you write the Facebook ad, when you write the website, is how do I overcome the yeah, sure response? How do I overcome that skepticism? And what I would encourage you to do, even while you're on this call, is just think about your website and just go, does it overcome the yeah, sure response? Or what specifically, and important to write this down now, right? Because you get off this call, you get busy, you're off doing things. What specifically can you do? What could you add there now to overcome the yeah, sure response? Who could you reach out to? And put timelines to it. Okay, I've got like 5 people I can reach out to for case studies in the next 3 weeks. And make an effort to then reach out to them and get those case studies so that you can incorporate that onto your website. Because that's one of the things we always, I know business owners for a long time, that's the one thing we always put off, right? It's like, it feels like hard work and you got to reach out to people and you're worried about how they're going to react and all that sort of thing. But very, very powerful from a proof and social proof sort of credibility, point. Next one, your book or your checklist or your free report or your webinar. So let's see an example of how to incorporate this in the on the homepage. Work less, make more. My #1 bestseller on Amazon shows you a counterintuitive way to build a profitable business. So this again is James Schramko. You'll see here these credibility things here, as seen in Entrepreneur, Huffington Post, etc. So the credibility things here. Picture of the hard copy book, very powerful. People can then go and buy it now. And what do you think happens when they buy it? So there's this book called They Ask You Answer, right? And the guy sold he tells a story, he sold swimming pools. And what he found was when he was selling swimming pools, the average conversion rate in the industry was 10%. So that was the average conversion rate. If you went to a sales meeting, you're going to convert at 10%. Does anyone put in the chat what you think it was, what you think the conversion rate went up to? Because he was tracking it through HubSpot, and this was based on blog posts. But the same concepts apply, whether it's emails, a book, whatever. So what do you think the conversion rate was if they'd absorbed 30 or more pieces of content before the sales meeting? I'll wait a few seconds while people put their thoughts into the things. So this is 10% at nothing. What is it if they'd absorbed 30 or more pieces of content before the sales meeting? We got 85%, we got 70% from Jeff, 85% from Scott, 50% from Peter, 60% from Kerry, 98% from Jane, Jay 65%, Al right up there, and Jacqueline Price. Jacqueline Price nails it. So it was 80% if they'd absorbed 30 or more pieces of content. So you can see that's massive, right? It's really, really massive. So if you can get them to read your book, similar thing applies. You have massive credibility. I which I'll be giving away as a lucky door prize shortly, but I spoke with a guy recently and he got referred to me by 2 people on the same day. Plus he read my book back in the dark ages sometimes, like 20 years ago or something, that when he read it, and he was just like, he was sold. It was a very easy sale, right? It wasn't my sales skills that sold him. It was all the credibility which led up to that from reading the book or reading the manual. So here's another example of the book. The content hacking book from Alexi, how companies are achieving explosive growth with content. And you'll see here all the credibility, right? How we generated $24 million in sales from one article, how we create dozens of content pieces in 25 minutes per week, how an e-commerce company and our client use content to get a 19.35 return on Facebook. So you see how powerful that is with that credibility and those little hooks. And the thing to remember here, this is just a copywriting tip with everything that you're doing, is all of these bullets, what do they have in common? They've got curiosity, right? You got to buy the book to work out what they've got in common. And there's one word actually that develops more credibility, more curiosity than any other word. I've actually written subject lines for a client called McCullough in the United States, and they've got a list of like, I don't know, 2 million people or something. And I've been writing subject lines for them for, I think, 15 years, about 15 years, and seen like thousands of split test results and all that sort of thing. But there's one word which I found by chance, and then I also found it in like some of the BuzzSumo research, which develops more curiosity than anything I've seen. So I'm going to reveal that 4-letter word towards the end of this call. So, and again, what I'm doing now is I'm creating curiosity, which is also creating an open loop, right? Which is another copywriting tip. So you always want to be looking at, how do I create curiosity? How do I create open loops with everything that I'm doing? So that everything that you're doing is like a slippery slide, right? Once you get on, you don't want to get off, because it's like if you ever watch those TV shows, the really good ones, they always end on a cliffhanger, and you're like, oh my God, what's next? You know what I mean? What's coming next? So if I was Nik at the end of this call, what I would be doing is I'd be saying, okay, next month or next week, we're going to be having, this person speak, and they're going to show you, the number one hack for, how to get the top of the SEO, or whatever that speaker's about, because it makes you then want to come back, right? So we want to be doing this all throughout our copy. So, and that's what all the TV shows do, all the morning shows do, all of that sort of thing. Come back after the break and we'll show you a purple dog or something. It's like, I need to see that purple dog, It's like, so there's another example for a book. Another example, this is for a guide. Again, free research guide, download it now. 5-step heart attack guide, 5-step heart hack guide. So you'll see the word hack is quite popular at the moment, and it's a bit edgy. So good one to use in your copy. Your podcast on the homepage. So if you got a podcast, what could a potential promotion for a podcast look like on your homepage? Here's one from James again. The Superfast Business Podcast covers everything you need to grow your online business, including et cetera, guest interviews. Subscribe now, away you go. So there's an example of a podcast on your homepage, which again is like a book. You get people to consume the content. By the time they reach out to you, they're far more likely to buy. You blog on the homepage. Here's one from Alexi. 4 times per week, our founder crafts a highly insightful memo. Can also cover anything he's thinking about in life, sales, or even life. Check them out, and you can go there and you can check out the blog. So it's encouraging you absorb more content. You absorb more content. By the time you're ready to buy, because we all buy differently these days, right? We all buy very, very differently. Before, you'd reach out to a salesperson pre-internet, and you would talk to them, and they would do all the selling. Now you've made up your mind sort of 80% before you even get to that sales call. So if you've got good content you can send people to, it's really, really powerful. Okay, so your profile on the homepage. Here's who is Chris Ducker. So there's like a bio, and then you can go and learn more about him. As you'll see down here, as featured in Entrepreneur, Forbes, Success, Inc., etc. So that's an example of that. And here's one from James. So you see here, very powerful, the credibility. Built and sold a 7-figure SEO business within 3 years, sold 10 million of my own products and service, was the #1 Mercedes salesperson in Australia. and then sort of goes into things, into things from there. So profile, very important. Here's one from Chris Ducker again, going into it. And here's one from Belinda Smith, which down. And here's where the credibility, 30 plus years of property investment experience, taught over 500 private students and 45,000 online followers, goes into like her background and where she's been featured. So all of this credibility with Sky News, Real Estate Institute magazine, Bunnings magazine, et cetera, which provides that real credibility there. So the other thing to do, which can work quite well, is if you've got a hero's journey. So recently I've been speaking with someone doing some work for someone in the debt, sort of they reverse bad credit ratings. So they're lawyers who reverse bad credit ratings. And he just has an incredible story of what happens to him. So I'm like, we need to use that story more, because when you share your why, that's very powerful. As Simon Sinek says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Now, okay, so next, what do you do? Who do you do it for? And the problem you solve. So this one's a nice one. These are the people we do it for. Podcasters, coaches, and services. So this is from Fubi. This is this is who we work with. Bang, bang, bang. And this is what we can do for you. Boom, learn more. So again, this is very much like the going into Bunnings and being directed into the right area. Here's another example, of directing people. Do the free online training, 10-day rejection detox, or explore our coaching program. Here's another one. This is another block for the webinar. Sending people into a webinar. Talk about the free online training, view webinar details. And webinars is one of the best ways to gain conversions, because you can gain people's attention for a fixed period of time. Again, we're seeing this again with James, in terms of what do you need help for? What are your 4 issues? Focus on that, in that direction. So let's look at your coaching program or services pages. Let's look at some examples of that. Because along with your homepage, this is where a lot of the heavy lifting is done. So here we've got Chris. One of the most important things I've done in my career when it comes to growing faster and getting more done is working with coaches and mentors. And then it sort of goes into, this is how I can help you. This is your next step. Another block, the incubator, monthly online coaching, quarterly virtual full-day mastermind events, and then talks about his mastermind and the things that he does. Here we've got 88 plus repurposed content pieces from one webinar or Facebook Live. So this is Fubi showing how you can cut up webinars into all sorts of content pieces. So this goes on their services page. Another one is join your community, right? So an example here from Belinda is we've got, become part of our Red community. You get the latest news. Now, this is really powerful. I would hesitate to use it. I know Belinda's got a good follow-up process to get people into her Facebook group, and then she builds relationships. So if you're going to do this, just make sure that you've got the funnel to follow it up. Work out where your funnel's going to be, and then base it off that, whether it's going to be your Facebook group, your email list, that sort of thing. Okay, let's have a look at the About Us page. So here's one from James, super fast business. The online business, get plenty more profit while working a lot less. And it sort of goes into follow us on. This is what I really like. If you're not doing this, it's a real fun process to go through this, where you actually go through your journey over the years. And if you go to our website, webcopygurus.com, and go to our About Us page, you'll actually see my journey. But, it's like 2005, I registered my first domain name. 2006, I taught myself to do this. You sort of get to experience the journey, and you let people into your world, if you like. And when I went through this, it was like going back in time, right? You're trying to remember, what did I do back in 2005 and sort of bring it back. So it's quite an interesting experience to go through it for for yourself as well. And it lets your clients really in, so you see here, 2007, 2008, what did I do? What happened, et cetera, et cetera. Here's another way, our journey so far. So, really telling your story, letting people in. Like this is a really good thing to do in your first couple of emails too, known as welcome mat or indoctrination emails. If you share your story, you build that connection. Very powerful. Share your why, because people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Here's another one about us. This is a bit more of a professional from Fulby. And it goes through but again, you'll see the credibility. And then you'll see the hero journey. Things became crazy. We're dealing with this, and then sort of goes into it from there. So you're seeing the commonality of it done in different ways. Okay, your book page. So let's go through some examples of different pages. So here's one from Chris Ducker with his book. And again, you're going to see the credibility, the testimonials, all that sort of thing from Michael Hyatt, who's a big name. And it sort of goes through that. You see the #1 bestseller here, et cetera, et cetera. Your podcast page. So here's an example of the content hacking podcast. And it goes in there. And again, you get people to absorb the copy, the content, and you get a far better result. Your blog. So there's an example of a blog. Really important you get the headlines right on your blogs. Make them curiosity, make them exciting, make them stuff people want to open and find out about. So it's like anything, the headline and the first two lines is really, really important and critical. So now let's look at getting the layout right for the writer. So you can go to somewhere like Studio One Design, and they will basically, they take care of the design for you. You can go to someone like Nik, who will take care of the, building all the website for you, all of that sort of thing. So there's different options, or you can Google WordPress themes. Do you know what I mean? So you can Google WordPress themes and go, I really like that structure as to how it's actually done. And I'm gonna use that as a format. And then it's like building it out, right? What are all the sections? So this is an example. What are all the sections that you're going to have in your website? Do you know what I mean? What are they going to be? And by now, should have been just jotting them down and sort of building a bit of a framework for yourself, so you know if you've got a website, what changes and additions you need to make, or if you don't, what you need to take out. So from here, if you do need help with it, I'll just take you through just a little bit about what we do in terms of the way we approach things. So we've got a business called Web Copy Gurus, which we set up because we just saw this big gap in the market where people they didn't really know where to go for web copy. And often the web designer's like, the client doesn't want to do it. The web designer doesn't really want to do it. So we saw this sort of gap in the market, which really needed sort of help with. So what we do is, basically we've got a team. So, if you like within 7 days, we'll basically get your copy ready. We need to, obviously, the first stage is getting really set on the infrastructure, right? So it all runs really smoothly. Unlimited resistance. We've got 45 years combined experience, both Alexi and I, and we do it for all industries. It's SEO optimized. It's 100% unique. We run it through checkers to make sure that everything's unique. Top shelf writers and guaranteed satisfaction. And and we've got writers who've written for all of these big names. You can see my own strategies, which I'm talking about. We live and breathe them. So basically, if you did want to do something like this with us, and I'm going to make a very special offer at the end of tonight. We go for a discovery call. We basically work with you SEO keywords, and you can choose exactly what SEO keywords you want. We make sure our writers write, based on those keywords. We do a deep dive into how you sell. We do the writing, we check it, we sign it off, and then it's done. So it all happens quite quickly. And yeah, some of the copy coming out of there is just exceptional. So, and the offer for tonight, if you're interested, is you'll save 20% off our prices. If you go to webcopygurus.com and just look at the Australian prices, you'll see that. But don't go directly to webcopygurus.com. Nik, do you have the affiliate links there by any chance? Well, I think I've got them. Let me just drop them into the
Yeah, well, the team will drop them in. I think JM or Lorena's got them to drop them to chat. Oh, there you go. You've got them.
Yeah. So there's you can either choose from up to 6 pages, up to 10 pages, or up to 15 pages for that. And basically, what we do there is you'll get 20% off the total price if you go to that link. So that'll basically for the next 72 hours. So you go there and you go, yep, I want some web copy, and I'm just scrolling back to where I need to be, and you'll get 20% off that total price. Now, in addition to that, we've got some really cool bonuses as well as that 20% for anyone. Because the most important thing, right, with anything that you do is making a really compelling and powerful offer. So in addition to that, if you do, you'll get 20% off retail, plus you'll get our content hacking university, which is something that you saw Alexi and some of the results that he's getting. That's valued at $497. We'll send you logins to that. You can go in there. If you want to create content and get great results, that is a really powerful program for doing it. You'll get my cash flow advertising manual, which is worth that retails at $287. So you'll get that sent to you as well. And you'll get from Jace Webster, who's one of the basically leading joint venture experts in the country. He will set you up with a partner. So someone you can joint venture with to actually do, to build a relationship with, have them send out to your, to their list, or, be featured in something they're doing. But joint ventures is one of the powerful, particularly in these uncertain times, one of the most powerful ways to build that sort of thing. So Jace will set that up. And lastly, you'll get a tailored approach to getting reviews in your industry from my business, from my reviews, at $297. So there's literally, you're going to save a significant amount off the 20% off the retail price, and you'll get $2,078 worth of bonuses. We've actually got Scott Baker here. Scott, do you want to talk for 30 seconds just about what you'll do in that review session?
Yeah, I'm pretty passionate about language patterns and making sure that, it can be a little bit squirmy when asking for reviews, but if you can frame it the right way and use the right language pattern, it can really make a big difference. So part of the opportunity with me is I'll sit down and create some language patterns that match your industry and your specific request, that you can use them either as in your discussions, or you can use them in your text and email approach.
Yeah, perfect. And Scott's an amazing guy, and his clients just rave about him. So thanks, Scott. So that's. I guess if we've got do we have a few minutes for questions? 1 or 2 questions, Nik, or how close are we to time?
Yeah, look, we've got a couple of minutes left, so yeah, good as gold.
I'll just see if there's any that I've missed. Jeff said testimonials and reviews are a must. Yes, absolutely. Dinner's ready for Ron. Right here. Jeff, Facebook groups are very good. All these pages. On the home page, in blocks. So we're literally you're just adding a block to it in the homepage. So if you're putting a feature of your podcast on the homepage, that's like a block that goes there. And you want the things that you really want people to see, you want on your homepage, which is where the testimonials the case studies, all of that sort of thing is really powerful to have there. And ultimately promise, proof, problem, proposition. You want to hit on all of those 4 issues on the homepage, and then send people to where you want them, where you really want them to go, essentially. So we got, love this idea to send a survey to client that says, what are the main points so we can, yes. So if you send me an email to scott@scottbywater.com.au, I will get a survey template sent out to you so that you can, basically use that as a send that out. And then what that'll do, it'll tell you what the biggest problems of your clients are. And in almost every case, everyone thinks they know it, but in almost every case, I found they don't know it, and they get literal insights. The other thing that it'll do for your web copy is you'll understand the language, and you'll see patterns in the language and the ways that your customers actually respond to things. And then you can start to use their language, so you don't sound like a copywriter. You actually sound like yourself. Or you sound like them, sorry. You sound like they go, oh, finally someone gets me, which is what you really, really want as a response. Al said it. Okay, agree fully. Thanks, Scott. Awesome content. We'll look out for that template and email from you. Yep, yeah, just send it to scott@scottbywater.com.au, and I'll get that template across to you.
All right. Any other questions?
Oh, the 4-letter word. The 4-letter word. I almost forgot. See, it works. It works. So the 4-letter word. Does anyone want to have a guess of what the 4-letter word could be? Feel free to have a guess. We got free. Nope, not free. So hack. Nope. It's a really common word. Very, very common word. It starts with a. Jess got an interesting one there. Jane, hey Jane, your is a powerful word. Fear, also a powerful word. Just, Nick said. It starts with a T and it ends with an S. It's a really common word. Really common word. And the reason it works is exactly what I'm doing now. Tons. Nick said, oh, Mandy's got it. Mandy's got it. This, Kerry's got it. So this is really powerful, right? Because I could say, I can show you, I can say something like, lifting weights will build you better muscles in 30 days. Or I could say, doing this for 30 days will help you build muscles. And this is actually a powerful curiosity word, because when you say this, it's like, what is this? What do I have to do? And then you've got to read the next line, and the next line, and the next line. You add this is how you fix a broken computer. If you got a broken computer, you want to know what the next line is, right? So that's really important and really, and a really powerful thing to know. So congratulations, you got it sooner than most people do. Okay, what was the, Kerry? Did you see the question from Kerry about the homepage? I must have missed that one. Even if you want to speak it out, Kerry, and I can answer it very quickly.
I think she was saying.
I can speak, Mandy, it's okay. So as you were going through, Scott, you kept saying like a lot of content and everything seemed to be going onto the homepage. And I said, this homepage seems to be very busy, or are they actually tabs? And
yes.
Yeah.
So there are examples of blocks, right, that you can add on your homepage. So you don't have to add all of them. And I was sort of showing examples, like I might show 3 examples of like the opening and then 3 examples of this, so you could see different examples. But no, you don't want it to be like, to go on for like 30 pages, right, with all of those different things. So what I would be doing, I'd be putting the things that you really want people to see on the homepage, and then have the other things on the on the tabs, right? So, and to understand that, you've got to go through understand your prospects, sort of the way they buy, and go, what do they want to know? What are they going to be interested in? Are they going to be interested in my testimonials? I've got to build proof. Let's put the testimonials. Like if you have a look at, let's say, James Schramko's Superfast Business, or even webcopygurus.com, our website, have a look at the way they're structured. And they're quite simple in terms of they're not too long, but they have the essential core things on the actual homepage. So what I would do is go back to them, and that'll give you an example. And then they've got separate tabs for other things. But really important, because it can be confusing, and that's why I wanted to give you lots of examples. So if you look at the structure of some of the pages, like afterwards that I've shown, and look at what they're doing, and use them as like thought starters for yourself. So you go in and then map it out for yourself where you want everything, and then from there, that makes it that makes it much easier.
Well, thanks, Scott.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. I've got another one on our new website. Still, we have the blogs at the bottom of the page. Is that advisable? That's why it was on the WordPress template we choose. Looks good, but we have made a mistake. Have we made a mistake in putting it so far down? I mean, I don't think so. I mean, personally, and I wouldn't put the blogs at the top personally. You know, you want to go your headline. You want to direct them to really sales pages. Get their opt-in. Direct them to let's say a services page where you want them to buy something like that. Have your proof elements. They're the things I would have at the top. I probably wouldn't have the blogs obviously a link to the blog is fine, but I wouldn't have them on the top of your homepage personally. You could try it, you could test it. You never know, but yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, good stuff at the top. Jane said blog posts are great for SEO, bottom is better. Yep, no, that's good. Any other final, or Nick, we're probably getting close to time, I imagine.
I think we're there. So I'm just looking at the feed there. It looks like it's sort of stopping. So, but are you available if in some way, means or forms, if people want to talk to you further?
Yeah. No, if you want to talk to me further, just reach out to me at scott@scottbywater.com.au as well. And just shoot me an email, and we can book in a time, or if you've got any questions or whatever, send an email. There is probably the best bet.
Awesome, excellent. All right, well look, we are getting towards the end, so that was an awesome session. Me as a web developer, I am having to look at my content now and rework it and redo it. But, sort of in terms of what we do as well, to absolutely sort of spot on in terms of structure and stuff. So that's just added to it all. So thanks very much for coming on tonight and sharing your knowledge and wisdom. Let's everyone give him a big round of applause. Scott Bywater. There you go. That's a silent virtual applause. And we do have a draw tonight to give away. So what is it you got there to give away, Scott? Let's just.
I've got my cash flow advertising manual, which is it's a 287. I think is it 287? 215 pages, I think it is, all up, and it basically walks you through step by step how to write an ad. It'll help you with the web copy. It'll help you with your Facebook ads. It'll help you with your social media posts, all of that sort of thing, in terms of like really detailed in terms of how to structure it. There's examples in there of ads I've written, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, that's a giveaway.
Excellent. And anyone not want that? Hands up if that's going to be really helpful for you after tonight. Awesome. So we've got a special way of drawing it. And on your screen, we should have the wheel of names. So everybody's name is in this wheel of names. Remember the rule from the beginning that you have to be here to win it. So if you disappeared early, well, actually, you'll never know, will you? Unless you've got a friend that kindly tells you that you won it. So all of your names are in here. So let's go now and spin the wheel. And drum roll, please. coming around, and the lucky winner is Ron. Are you still here, Ron? Open your
Of course
mic.
I'm still here.
There we go.
In fact, it was getting a bit frustrating because my glass of wine got empty halfway through there.
Oh, well, you've now got something else to read with your glass of wine. So,
Oh, look, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. That was a great win.
excellent. That's a superb win, really. So that's awesome.
Okay.
So will you send me the Ron's address, Nick, or?
Well, we
I'll
can
just
shoot,
put it in for you.
you can drop it into chat, Ron, or Lorena will shoot you through Ron's details as well too on email or messenger.
Yeah, perfect.
Excellent. All right. Well, look, that's sort of getting close to a wrap tonight. So just to let you know, this session will be up on YouTube tomorrow afternoon. So if you want to have a look at it again, there are bits that you missed and you want to catch up with it, best thing to do is to subscribe to the Smash Go YouTube channel. The link is in chat right now. And when you do subscribe, there's a little bell beside the subscribe button, which will show up after you've subscribed. Hit that. And that will then trigger off a notification. Once the video is uploaded, you'll get a notification so you know it's there, and then you can schedule to go and watch it. Next week's session is, interesting enough, it's about surveys. So, and I've got a great piece of survey software, which I'm going to run you through as well too. So I'm the speaker next week. We'll be talking about how you can use it, some of the surveys that you can use, some of the questionnaires you can use with it to really drive up engagement, build your list, and to really sort of get your website, after all of the copy secrets today, how to really sort of get it converting really easily. So it's one of the simplest ways you can do it, and it really works. So that's next week. If you're not a member of Business Owners Smashing It Online Facebook group, go to Facebook, go and join the group. That's where we make all of the announcements for these events and other things coming up. We share some of the online tools and apps there as well too. But apart from that, let's give Scott another huge round of applause. And thank you everyone for coming along tonight, and look forward to seeing you online and seeing you next week. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast. You can also find me on social media and online. Just search for Business Owners Smashing It Online and Nik Cree, spelled Nikree, all one word. If you like this and want to hear more, subscribe now. Until next time, don't be a slave to your business. Get your business working for you.